184.
Hashtag VerseTV184C at Soul Wanderlust _
I really feel like we don't speak about this enough is people don't realize how often men are experiencing a lack of intimacy. And the only place that they can experience that intimacy is through sex. We've created a society where men are so afraid to be vulnerable with each other, to be, sensitive with each other, to care for each other, to love each other. Even saying that as a guy, you always have to change and be like, you can't just say, I love you. You have to be like, I love you, dog. You know what I mean? You got to throw it, like you can't just say it. And it's interesting because that is where I do feel women have done a much better job of being there intimately for each other. Not sexually, but intimately. And I think we take for granted how much in society men who say sex is the thing they're not getting are actually struggling with a lack of companionship, of intimacy, of being in a space with a person where they're sharing, everything from serotonin to endorphins to what humans need to feel, And I hope we can change that conversation just a little bit more. I hope we get to the place where guys go, oh, I actually didn't need the sex. I needed to be held. And I live in a society where it's hard to be held unless I'm having sex. Because as guys, you can't just go to a guy and be like, just hold me. True. There are many sex workers who've talked about this, where they'll talk about how many men will pay them and then say, hey, can we just talk? Can you just hold me?
After hearing that, I could honestly say that I believe it's true, sadly. Personally, I did not hear I love you unless it was from someone I was in a relationship with. However, switching that around and always telling, for example, my younger Gabra that I love him. And I would say I've known him all 25 plus years of his life. So we actually said it to each other, and it's really genuine on both sides. Now, because I know there are probably some people thinking something nasty. It ain't nothing sexual at all. That is basically, he's like a blood brother. I've known him his entire life. So, yeah. And that's what I have.
I think anybody who would go there with you talking about your god brother, it's like your god brother who is over 10 years your junior. It's like,
Right.
okay, those people would perhaps need a checking, if you will. But yes,
You're right.
yeah. My initial reaction, yes. And yes, Trevor Noah is a comedian, right?
Yeah.
But some of where the audience laughed, I feel is part of the problem because people don't take hetero men's lack of intimacy seriously. Touch deprivation is a real thing. Male, female, anyone in between, anyone outside of that. Touch deprivation is a real thing, and a lot of us are experiencing it. Okay? And as far as my connection, I'm not upset with life. I do remember though how when I would date dudes, particularly in my prude days, I know I talk about that a lot, but particularly in my prude days, I would always say to them explicitly, I'd be like, we won't do any more than kissing and cuddling at the most. Kissing and cuddling. And I kind of wonder if that cuddling part came from a lack of platonic interpersonal touch.
Mm.
I remember at one of my former church of mine, the pastor used to say every week, you know, get up and hug your neighbor. You know, this might be the only hug they'd get all week. This might be the only hug they get all week. And everybody would kind of lightly chuckle, myself included, even though I was one of those people that would be my only hug all week, unless I was in a relationship with a dude or whatever, and then it would be the kissing and cuddling. But that was me. And I wonder how that lack fully impacts people. That lack of platonic touch fully impacts people. And I don't think that the amount of touch that I receive platonically, is particularly abnormal. And I wonder what we can do to change this lack of positive touch in the world that's so pervasive, or at least in society, that people are so caught up and so busy that they don't really have time to, they're so into themselves that they can't really take the time to just a positive touch. Hi, friend. Like there are some people who, when they give a hug, like you feel that, it's like, wow, I feel that energy. Know? Now, I'm not one of those huggers. I'm not going to lie. Like, I give a little bit of a hug, but not enough.
Yeah, basically,